Hello everyone, welcome to part 2 of FPM class 2. In the last class we have seen designing of an initial screen, confirmation screen, as well as we have seen how to go to sub-step of FPM. In today's class we will see some more functionalities and key capabilities of FPM. So I have a very good presentation on that. We have seen how to create an initial screen last time, confirmation screen. So now I will show you how to create an explanation text for one of the FPM steps. So as you are aware that we have one of the step in FPM where user can select the passengers. So that's my second step. Oops, there is some problem in the code. We need to probably check what is the syntax error. Let me debug the code. Or probably it's a problem of not selecting a flight. Yeah, that was the problem. So now here you can see that we are allowed to select a passenger and drag and drop that passenger to the list of travelers. So, but end user will not be knowing that end user has to drag the data and drop it into the below table. Because since we have designed it, we must be knowing that. So in order to provide additional information to the user, we will probably see creation of an explanation text of this step. So I will go to the application configuration. And then from there, I will navigate to the component configuration of my FPM application. I go to the step in which I have to create explanation text. And here on the right hand side, we have so many options. The option which I'm interested in is add explanation text. I click on that. Now I have to provide a document object here in order to create an explanation text. So in SAP, all the document objects will be created in a transaction SE61. So we will create all the documentation object in SE61 centrally. So I will go to SAP system and SE61 transaction. There I will create an explanation text for this particular step of the FPM. So I come to this screen and here I will choose the document class as something which is relevant for me. So probably we choose document class as general text. So let me search where exactly we have the general text. Here it is. And now I give an object name. So let's say Z text explanation customers. Click on create. Now here we can give the text which we want. So I will say please drag the customer from above table, drop an order the same as passenger. Now I click on save button and activate it. So that's my text object. I put the same name of text object now in FPM configuration. So I've copied and pasted the text name. Click on save button. So my explanation text has been added now as part of this step. We will go and refresh our page. And you can see that explanation text has been shown. So this will give more information to the end user that what exactly they have to do in this screen in order to make somebody as a passenger. So they need to drag the customers from above table and drop it to the below table. So that's about explanation text. So we have already talked about FPM events so far. So what happens when we add IF FPM UI building block interface in a component? These methods will be added. So far we have seen call sequence of 4 methods out of them. Process before output, process event, needs confirmation, and flush. The flush method we have used to transfer the data to the global class before we were leaving the view or before we were leaving the step. The use of need confirmation was when you are leaving the view and there is an incomplete data entry on a screen, we will probably ask user to confirm that. Process before output we used to update the data in the screen or update the data on the context of the step from the global memory. So if you remember the example, in the overview screen, in the preview of overview screen, we have written the code to read the data from our global class and set the context of that particular view. So these four methods we have seen so far, how to make use of them. Now I will show you one example of process event. So the process event method will trigger in case when you do some action on FPM screen. So just now we have observed that on first screen, system caused a dump. So when I left my first screen or the first step as blank, system caused a dump. Okay, let me refresh the page and show it to you again. I refresh my application in order to show you that when you leave the flight data as blank, system causes a dump. So I come to the first screen, enter the data, click on start. Now here I will not select any flight at all and directly click on next button. You can see system is dumping. Why it is happening is because first of all we have not done the error handling. But even though we have done the error handling, we should have kept in mind that when you don't select any flight on the first screen, it is not possible to have a booking. So it is very, very important and essential to select a flight on the screen or on this particular step. Without that, you should not allow user to proceed even. So such validations can be handled into process event method. The process event method will be called as soon as you click on any of the buttons in the toolbar. So in the toolbar, when you click on next button, the process event method will trigger. And we have seen on that day that when it triggers the process event method, the event ID will be the next button event ID. So every button here has a unique event ID associated to it. So what we will do is when user clicks on next button, we will see if user has selected any flight or not. If user has not selected any flight at all, we should not allow user to navigate to the next screen. So we should inform the WebDynpro floor plan application that this event should not be succeeded. Or we should inform the floor plan application, say, you should not allow user to navigate to the next screen. So that we can handle in process event method. So let me go to the process event method of the component to which this particular view belongs. So I go to the component 1 because there it belongs to that particular component, the first view. And now I go to the component controller of that component. Now here you can see the process event method. I go to the process event method. Now first of all, the validation is specific to a step. You will probably would like to do the validation of the flight on the flight screen, flight selection screen, not probably on the passenger screen. So you need to know which is the view currently which is being processed. So for that, same thing what we've been doing so far, you need to read the interface view by index 1. So say read table, IT interface view into LV view name, index 1, data, LV view name, type string. Now I'll see the case statement. If the view name is my flight view, then probably I would like to do a validation. So what is my window name? The view name, interface view name or window name, both are same. So it's WND flight selection. So I will pass this. Now if it is this view and if user has not selected any valid flight, so probably I read the node data of selected flight. The tab flights is my node. I will do a read of that. So if user has not selected any flight, this element value will be initial, which means user has not selected any flight. So in that case, I should defer the navigation, or I should even say the next step event should be marked as failed. I should not allow user to go to next step. So if user has not selected any flight, and if the event which is processed, IO event, I also want to check that, and IO event ID is equals to CLFPM event. Check the constant for event ID next. Next step. So that's the event ID. So if user has not selected any flight and user clicked on next button, then I should not allow user to proceed. So if you see, there is an exporting parameter of this method called EV result. In order to stop the navigation or in order to stop then and there itself, we can pass this EV underscore result equals to failed. So there is a constant in IFFPM constants called event result, or it's called FPM event result. Let me check the constant name, called constant GC event result hyphen failed. Now what will happen is immediately we will inform the FPM that fail this event intentionally. The next event should not be succeeded now. So when you send this, immediately the floor plan framework will stop the navigation to the next step. You need not have to do it explicitly. Floor plan manager, the framework will do it. The WebDynpro will do it on its own. You just have to inform by the help of this exporting parameter by setting the value to failed. Now, as soon as you set it to failed, immediately after this, the WebDynpro framework will realize that we have sent the indication as failed. It will trigger another method called process failed event. So your control will come to after failed event method immediately. This will trigger only when you are sending the signal to the floor plan that we failed this event. This event should be failed. So here you can again read and check. what has been failed. So I'll probably read the again same node, tab flight. Or I will just simply show an error message here. So I will say, please correct the data entry. That could be a generic message which you can show. So I go to wizard, general tab and throw an error message. Report error message. I will report an error message saying that please correct your data. Invalid data, cannot proceed. That's a generic message which we can throw now. So in any case, whenever in any view, if something is not expected, you can probably say fail, event should be failed. So user will not be allowed to navigate to next step, and this will save you from dump also. So now you have implemented a mechanism to prevent the mistakes which is done by user. And you are informing the user appropriately so that he can take measurable actions in order to correct the data. Same thing can happen in case of passenger as well. So for that also we will write the code. So when the view is passenger view, then probably it might have happened that user has not selected any any passenger at all. So the view is WND passenger. In this case also, we need to see if user has clicked on next button and if there is no passenger which has been added to the passenger table. So if the selected passenger is empty, which means again same condition will come into picture. So if this element is initial and user has clicked on next event, you will stop the event. Now let me show you one more way of avoiding going to the next step. We can also make it as deferred. Defer means you will defer the event call. The system will not navigate to the next step. Now what is the difference between defer and fail? Defer will just defer the event, but fail after deferring the event, it will process the next method, which is process error, whatever the method which we have coded. So when you send the status as failed, system will process after failed event after that. But if you use defer, system will not process this method. Okay, let me show you in the presentation. So what we have here is different steps. Step number 1, then we have step number 2, and then we have step number 3. So when something is wrong in step number 1 and user clicks on next button, I am saying please defer, please mark it as failed event. So when you send the signal as failed, system will not navigate to the next step. But system will process a method after this called after failed event. This method will be processed. This method will be called by WebDynpro framework. But if you send the status as defer, this method will not be called. This method will not be called. So it's up to you how you want to handle it. Both will stop the navigation to the next step. If you send the status as defer or failed, the only difference is this method will be triggered or not triggered, that will be decided. Okay, so let's see now. So now I will refresh the page. Okay, first let me activate the component. Now you have implemented a proper error mechanism. So if you will not select any flight now, it should not dump. It should show appropriate error message to us. So I just refresh the page. So we will also see by not selecting any passenger on second screen. There the navigation will be deferred, but you will not see an error message because it will not go to process failed event. Start the process. Now I will not select any flight here. I directly click on next button. So let's go to the component and set up a breakpoint. So put a breakpoint here in the case statement and click on next button. So immediately, oh, a dump comes still. So what is that which has happened wrong here? We need to probably check that. System has not even triggered the process event method. So the problem is actually we have another method which will be called even before process event. Can you tell me which is that method? Yes, very good. It's the flush method. In the flush method itself is you are trying to actually collect the information about selected flight. See here. Here you are trying to collect the information about selected flight. So here you can just put an if condition so that you can avoid the dump. This is not initial. Then only do this operation. That's why it was dumping. Okay, should be fine now. So flush method was even called before the process event. So it didn't even reach to process event to do the error handling. So let me go back and refresh the page. Click on start. Now we can see that it has called the process event method for the first time for the start button. Now here again I will not select any flight and directly click on next. The system will now call the process event method for me after calling flush. So you can see it has come to process event method now. My view name is the flight selection view. So I'm on that view and current ID of event is next step event ID. You can see because we clicked on next step button. So let's see what happens. It goes inside, tries to read the flight. It doesn't find that there is any flight which is available or selected. This element is initial. Event ID matches with the event ID what we have checked. You can see both the event IDs are matching. It will go inside, mark it as a failed event. Immediately after that, the EV result is marked as failed. System will call the fail event method. So now WebDynpro framework will call your method called process fail event. And you can see on top, the error message has been thrown. So this is what the error message which we have coded in the process failed event method. So when you don't select a particular flight, it is failing now because the data is not correct. So WebDynpro itself has stopped the navigation to the next step. You don't need to do it. You just have to inform WebDynpro with the help of that exporting parameter of process event that please stop the navigation. Okay, now I enter a flight, select a flight and go to next. Again the process event will be called, but this time condition will not fulfill. So it will not fail the event. It will pass the event, so we will reach to the next step. You can see the debugging. I'm reading the element, and this time you will have the element object with you. The element object have come. So condition will not pass. It will, this time the value of event status will be true. Okay, and you are now on the second screen. Now here also, I will click on next button. But if you remember, we are just deferring the event to be processed. We are not making the event as failed event. So when I say next, system will call process event, and it will just defer it. Okay, there is something wrong. What's the view name? View name is this. What I've put here, WND PASS and E. Okay, it's passengers, not passenger. Let me change the code into the method. Process event method, we will go and change it passengers. So now it will defer the event. It will not go to next step, but at the same time it will not call the method process failed event. That method will not call. So let me at least go through it. SS F5 again to reload the application and see. I will start. Select a flight. Go to next. Now I will not select any passenger, or I will not drag and drop any passenger. I will just simply say next. So this time no passenger has been selected. So you can see window passengers, and current step ID is next step, and this element is also initial. So we will send the output status of this method as deferred. So please defer this event. Don't process this event. But at the same time, it's not a fail of event. Please defer this event. Don't fail it. The system will not take you to the process failed event method. It will just defer it. So you will not leave this screen. You will be on the same screen, same page. Okay, now let me go back and make it failed. So this time again, it will go and call your process failed event method, where we have written a generic code to show an error message. So user will get to know there is something wrong which I've done on the screen. Probably the data is not correct in order to proceed. So I say start. So when you're clicking on start button also, there is this process event is triggering, you can see. And what is the ID of event? ID of event is FPM leave initial screen. That's the ID of event. And user clicks on start button, this is the event which gets triggered. So now we are here, I say next. You can see it has called the process failed event, shown the error message. We search for the flight, go to next. Again, I will directly press next button without selecting any passenger. And yes, you can see again it is called the process failed event method. So as an output, you are seeing an error message. So this is how you can do a generic error handling for any step in FPM. Now I'll probably select a passenger, drag and drop it, and click on next. Yes, I am on the next screen now. So that's about process event method and process failed event method. Both are very important methods again. So you can see here the documentation about all these methods has been already there in the presentation which I'll share with you. Okay, so now we will do a small practical example again. Skipping the initial screen. So many times you will get some tasks like you have already a WebDynpro application, FPM application designed, and your manager come and ask you, probably they would like to skip the initial screen for some time. So in such cases, what you can do is we have to write some code. So what we will do is we will go to the method. So somehow you need to avoid triggering the initial screen, or something like as soon as you reaches to initial screen, just skip it. So which is the method which will be called as soon as you are about to reach to a step? Can you tell me? Yeah. So which is the method which will be called when you are about to land up on a step? Process before output. Perfect. So PBO method will be called before you reaches to a step. So before I reaches to initial screen, so I will get to know that now the screen which is about to come is the initial screen. Yeah. So if it is the initial screen, I will directly process skip initial screen event. So I will manually trigger that event. So let me show you how. Now one more thing, initial screen has been made by both component views. So either you do it in component controller of first component, or you do it in the component controller of second component. Both will not make any difference. So in any of the process PBO method, you could have done it, not a problem. But I will do it in component one. So let's say read table, IT interface view, index one. You can see how powerful FPM is. It's allowing you to code lot of things, lot of functionality with so much of ease. Everything is available for you, ready-made. You just have to set some parameters and everything is ready. So now in PBO, if the screen which is about to come is initial screen, which means if the screen which is about to come is WND initial, just directly fire an event. What event we would like to trigger? So I say CLFPM factory. That's my factory class. Get the instance. This will give me an instance. I will say process event. Let's see, raise event. So I will call raise event by ID. There are two methods. One which we have already used in the past to go to substep, which was raise event. The first event the first method raise event will use an object as an event. But second one, the one which I am going to call now, will accept an event ID. So now I will use the second one, process event by ID. And here we have to pass the event ID. So I'll say CLFPM event class. What is the event which I want to call? Skip initial screen. So let's see, is there any constant available for that? GC event underscore skip, or leave initial screen, something must be there. Let's see. Yes, so this is the event ID. So I want to process this event. As soon as you will come to this particular screen, before you show that screen to user, I directly process this event. So FPM, as soon as it reaches to screen, it will process leave initial screen in the background automatically. So you will directly land up to the step of your FPM application, not on the initial screen. So let's activate it. So this is how you can trigger standard FPM event also directly by calling this method raise event by ID. Okay, so I come back and refresh the page. So this time when I refresh, you will not see the initial screen. Directly you are able to see that it has taken you to the steps of FPM. When I refreshed it this time, it has taken me directly to FPM steps, not on initial screen. You can do the same thing. Let's say I want to skip the first step of FPM. Probably I'll do the same kind of stuff. So first step of FPM is being shown as a window flight selection. That's what has been shown as a first step. I use that. And if this is the screen which is about to come, process the next step. So DC event, next step. But we have already written the code in the process event method that when the event is next step and there is no flight selected, throw an error message or mark that event as failed event. So you will see the initial screen, but when you say start, you will directly see an error message on the first step. So let me refresh. Now you will see the initial screen, but as soon as you will reach to the first step, we will call the process event next step. And when the next step event is processed and there is no flight selected, it will throw an error message. Yes. So you can see on the first screen, you were trying to process the next step, but there was no flight. So it has went to process failed event method and showed this error message. Same thing probably we can do on review order or any of the steps. So if somebody asks you to skip a step, you can probably write the code in PBO. Check this the step view which is about to come and skip that by processing the next step event. So that's a pretty good cool stuff here. One example. This has been taken as one of the requirement from one of my students uh, who wanted to learn FPM, and he really got this requirement into his company that they want him to skip the initial screen of standard FPM application. So that's what one requirement is. Okay, let's move on to the next part. How to access the toolbar dynamically. So what we want to do now is, let's say your manager comes and asks you to put a toolbar button here on the first screen itself. So maybe we can put a toolbar button, and on clicking on the toolbar button, it should show you all the probably all the airline codes into a pop-up. So that's what we want to do now. So on clicking on that pop-up, it should show you all the airline codes with the company names into a pop-up, into display only pop-up. So let's design first a pop-up screen. So I come to views, create a new view in our demo component. Click on yes, say view lines, and I will create a context node here of SCAR type. Right click on context, create a node, SCAR node, add attributes from the structure, care ID and care name. And there are so many airline codes which are there in this table, so we'll keep the cardinality 0 to n. Basically, we want to design a table here. So now I click on layout and create a small table there to display the flights or airline codes, sorry. Insert an element, table, right click, create binding with the SCAR node. So you can see that all the knowledge which we have gained during WebDynpro basics about basic WebDynpro course, everything we are utilizing here. The do init method, I will go and populate all the flights, all the care IDs. So do a set operation on the node, SCAR node, click on OK. We'll do a select query now. Select star from SCAR table into table LTSCAR. Let's activate it. And I'll create a quick window for this as well. Before that, let's activate the component controller if there is something missed out there. Click on OK. Now I'll create a window for this particular view. So I create a window, say carriers. The airline I will integrate in this window and say activate. So dynamically we have to show a button in the toolbar. That code we have to write. So before I reaches to the step, if I want to do that code, so before I reaches to the first step, I want to do something there. What should I do? Where should I code for that? Just now we have done it, right? So before you reaches to the first step, probably we want to show a toolbar button. We want to add a toolbar button programmatically. I mean through the code. So the code should go in PBO of the component controller. So we will go to the PBO method and try to add a button dynamically as part of it. So let me go and do that. I'll go to the component controller and the PBO method of first component. So I go here, the PBO, and the screen which is about to come is the first screen, is your flight selection screen. Then we have to add a toolbar button. So how do we add a toolbar button dynamically? So in order to add a toolbar button, we need to access the toolbar dynamically. So in order to access the toolbar dynamically, we have some APIs available, basically some set of methods in FPM. It's called service method, which will give you the object of toolbar. So let's access that. So we need to access a toolbar object, first of all, dynamically. So that will happen using the service object. So I will use CL FPM factory. Get instance. This will give me the object FPM, and I call get service method. So in this I have to pass a service key. The service key will be something which is related to toolbar. It comes from FPM Service Manager class. There is a constant available in FPM Service Manager class. So it's called GCP PNR GAF. So I create an object, what it will return, hello toolbar, type L underscore FPM underscore NR GAF. That's the object which I'm gonna get. Now, the method which you are calling will give you the superclass object. In order to get this object into child class, you need to use typecasting. That's what I'm doing. So this is what we have also seen in OOPS ABAP classes. So there, that concept we are utilizing here, what we have seen in OOPS ABAP. So we will typecast the base class object to child class like this. And now we will call the method add a button dynamically. So I will say control space. Oops, this should be object. So type ref2 we have to do. There are so many methods. I'll call the method. Let's see what are all the methods available. I have to call another one. I think it's CNRFIF. Yeah, this one. This is also not having the correct method. Let's see the class name correctly. Okay, let me check the object name. Okay, it's an interface object. It's not the class object. CNR. Yes, that's the one. We'll use this object, and now there's a method called define button which we have to call. So to order to define the button, so now you have to give the function type. You can see the interface IF FPM constants have to use to get to know the function type. So GC button on what type of button it's going to be. Say other function, and I will give the enabled as true, BAP enabled as BAP true. I want to make that button visible, so I will mark the visibility also BAP true. I want to give the text on the button, let's say show carriers. And on action, what should happen? What will be the action name which should trigger? So I will say Spider-Man. That's going to be the action name which will trigger, or that's going to be the ID of FPM event. So when you click on the button, this will be the ID of FPM event which will trigger. Okay, so that's it. I think the button will be available now on the screen. Now what should happen when user clicks on the button? It should open the pop-up for us. So that we will do in the process event method. So when you click on a button, the process event method will be called. So now here, if the window is flight selection, and if the event ID, so IO event, MV event ID is equals to Spider-Man, then I'm going to show a pop-up which will show all the carriers. So I say go to General tab and select out an option called Generate Pop-up. The view name which I'm going to show is the view of same component, window carriers. Click on OK. So now system will open up the pop-up for us when you click on that button. So dynamically a button will be added. So you have not added that button right now in configuration at all. It will be added dynamically. And when you click on the button, it will show a pop-up to us. There is some syntax error right now, saying ABAP true is not compatible here. So probably we will just comment out and do a syntax check again. Event check. Looks fine. I think the button will be by default visible. It will be visible on the screen by default. So we should not worry about it. So that's the activation of my component controller. Let's go back to application and rock. Okay, so that's my initial screen. Click on start and wow, beautiful. I have a show carriers button available at runtime now, which is enabled. And when I click on this button, it shows me the carriers into a table, small pop-up. But one more thing you have observed is that again one more button is added. Why it is happening like that? So as soon as you click on the button, process event method will be called. And then you are on the same step. So again the process before output will be called. So again it will add a button. So like that will be keep on adding buttons. So we need to avoid it. So once the button is added, we should not add it again. So in the PBO method, we have to write the code to not add the button again once it is added. So what I will do is I will just see what are all the buttons which are available on the screen. So I just say give me all the list of buttons. So I will say get buttons. System will give me all the buttons which are already there on the screen. So I'll get all the buttons here. Let's see what is the data type which it returns to me. T underscore button. But I'm sure T underscore button is not a global data type. It's somewhere coming from an interface constant. So let me try to declare it if it is possible, if I remember it correctly. Multi buttons type IFFPM constants T underscore buttons. No, it's not correct. So maybe we need to go to the method and check what is the type which which we should be declaring here for getting all the buttons. So I go to the class and see what is the returning type. It's of T button type. Go to this associated type, the table of S button type, and S button type. Okay, they belongs to this interface, IFFPM CNRGAF. IFFPM CNRGAF interface. The T button belongs to IFFPM CNRGAF interface. So I have to use that only. CNRGAF interface T button. Let me search now. I should get it here. So that's my table of buttons, LS button, like line of my table. So now I got my table. I will pass it here. So I've got all the buttons now into an internal table. What I will do is now I'll check read table, LT buttons, transporting, no fields, with key, name equals to, if the button name is already there, Spider-Man. This button is already there. Please do not add it again. So if psi hyphen sub RC is not equals to 0, means this button is not available on the screen, then only we should add this button on the screen. Else we should not add it. Let's see if it shows me a syntax error. As expected, I think it will show me syntax error because there is no component in the table with the name. Let me go and check. How do we refer the name? Go to this table type, structure type. Okay, so these are all the fields, action type, text, enable, design, function, on action. Yes, we will probably search with this. On action is already there. This action is already added. Do not add this again. So I will say on action is Spider-Man, which means this action is already available in the list of buttons. Do not add it. Perfect. So let's activate the code. And now when you click on the button, it will not add it again. Because we will check again in the PVO, because PVO will be called again and again every time that view is displayed, that step is displayed. So there you have to make sure that this button is not already added. If it is added, do not add it. If it is not added, then only you add it. So let me set a breakpoint and show you the debugging. So I will reload my application. So first thing itself is PVO will be called for the initial screen. That we are not interested at all at this point. I will execute and I'll click on start. It will take you to the first step now. So this time, as soon as you're going on the first step, you're landing on first step, the button is not there. So this time the button will be added. So you can see the view name is going to be the flight selection view. It matches. It goes inside, accesses the toolbar object. From the toolbar, it gets the list of buttons. So right now there are only two buttons on the screen, next button and previous button. So we will check it and the sub RC value is 4, which means that the Spider-Man button is not available right now on the screen. So it will add that button and you can see the button is now added. So now I click on this button again, this newly added button, and it will loop through it, and again the process before output method is called. So this time again the view name is same. Let's see, get the button list. And now if you see the button list, you have 3 buttons now here. So your Spider-Man button is already now added. So what will happen? It will not add that button again on the screen. So that button is only once added, and you will get your pop-up for all the airline codes. So, I mean, we have solution for everything. It's just about understanding the concept. So once you understand the concept, how these methods are called and what is the sequence of call and what is the default parameters of each and every method, that's where the catch is. So that's it from my end today. In the next class, we will see some more concepts related to the guided activity floor plan, FPM. Thank you so much for joining this session. Goodbye.